Caleb Calhoun, how many players should still be on Tennessee's roster if there were no coaching changes, if there were no transfer portal the way it is now, from let's go back to old school football, which is teens, isn't that old school? But how many players would you expect to be on Tennessee's 2021 recruiting class? So they would be coming into this season as, depending on whether or not they redshirted, they would be coming in as juniors. You could have some sophomores who redshirted. How many would you expect? And I'll give a little bit of a hint. 34 players either signed or committed. This is a good piece by Patrick Brown, Go Vols 24/7. 34 players either signed or committed. Caleb, how many would you expect to still be on Tennessee's football team leading into their junior year if we're back in old school football without the fluid transfer portal and without coaching turnover where guys are naturally going to leave?
So factoring in decommitments, a couple of guys who still would transfer even in the old days, dismissals, and maybe one early departure for the NFL, two at most. Factoring in all that, I would say if you signed or got 34 commitments, 22 would still be with you.
I was going to go 18. So we're in the exact same ballpark. Average it out to 20. Now this is stunning. Four players are still on Tennessee's class, or Tennessee's team from the 2021 class. Is that the state of college football, or is that a red flag for the Vols? Or let me give you another option. Is that just what Tennessee has been because of coaching changes and coaching turnover? Which is it, or all the above?
It's coaching changes and coaching turnover. And for reference, I think 9 players from the 2020 class are still on the roster. So they have more players, twice as many players from the 2020 roster as they do the 2021 recruiting class on the roster.
So let me give you another option. Is this just darn bad luck?
Yes. And to be fair, even though they had 34 people sign or commit on signing day that year, they only had 17 signees. Only 17 players actually signed with Tennessee. And that was because there was a wave of decommitments because, one, Jeremy Pruitt was having a bad season. Tennessee was going 3-7 that year. And then he got fired, and a lot of those players had committed to Jeremy Pruitt. So you expected a lighter class than usual because of the coaching changes. You wouldn't expect 4. And I think that's a major testament to the job Josh Heupel did. Because Dave, you were covering recruiting in the late 2000s. Mm-hmm. That 2007 class was a bust. Outside of Eric Berry, was a total bust, really. And then a few others. I'll give Gerald Jones credit and a few other guys, but it was mostly a bust, the 2007 class. And the 2009 class was like another level beyond a bust. I don't know how you could go beyond. It was even bigger of a bust than a bust. It was the historic bust of all time. And that really did some serious damage to Tennessee in the early 2010s. It was hard for them to recover.
Now, as far as the commitments, I'll give the coaching staff credit at the time. None of the commitments, because you can commit nowadays and a coach can stop calling you and you're going to go somewhere else and you're going to get the hint. It's not pulling a scholarship. You just stop calling them. And that used to be a big deal, but it's not. As far as the commitments, none of them went on to do great things elsewhere. So I would consider that a part of the talent evaluation aspect of what you're doing when you recruit. If a guy doesn't develop into his senior year, you just stop calling him and he's going to go somewhere else and he's going to get the hint.
We know Lane Kiffin didn't evaluate anybody.
Yeah. Or you just tell him, here's an idea. You should go elsewhere. And they're going to take the hint. You're not pulling scholarships. That used to be a real no-no, but that's the way you handle it. That's the way you handled it 20 years ago. It's not that difficult. But who are some of the guys that, Caleb, that when you look at this list that Tennessee would still like for them to be on their roster before we get to the guys that really panned out? Who are the guys that you look at and you would say, man, they could really help Tennessee in 2020?
See, that's just it. I'm not sure there is one. The only
I agree. I was
I
looking
mean-
at this list and I was thinking, man, Tennessee really they got really messed up by all these guys going elsewhere. But Caleb, that's really not the case. I mean, pick one dude off that class that you'd be like, oh man, if he were a Vol, we'd be having a different conversation. We'd go from 10-2 to 11-1, which is our preseason predictions. We haven't totally given away, but I just did. So, Caleb, which guy? Is there a dude on there?
I mean, outside of because and he didn't leave the team, he just graduated, but outside of Byron Young, who graduated, it's not like he was dismissed or transferred.
Right. All
That's
right.
the only one you would take back.
No, I agree. And who are the winners? Who did Tennessee win with? Will continue to win with, and they won by getting their scholarship at Tennessee. Obviously, Jalen Wright. And then who else?
Yep, Jalen Wright. I gotta say, JJ Crawford. We kept thinking that he was a stopgap guy until other linemen came in, but as we just talked about, he's not losing that job to Gerald Mincey yet. He's still splitting reps with Gerald Mincey, even though Mincey should be more talented. So
and a very highly respected player in that offensive line because he's kind of an overachiever type.
yes, exactly. I agree. Deshaun Rucker is still on the roster. He's a defensive back. I'm not so sure how long he'll be on the roster, to be fair, but
what is he doing? Does he run and go get the overthrown balls and bring them back to practice? I mean, what really?
He has blocked a punt to his credit, but he's got speed.
Which is usually because of everybody else that blocks a punt. When you block a punt, usually it's because somebody else did something right or it's schemed. But anyway, all right, who else, Caleb?
I mean, and then Christian Charles, who I thought was a rising star cornerback, but he had speed, but couldn't really transition that to actually playing cornerback.
No.
And so, but so really all four of them are on scholarship. Congratulations. But it's JJ Crawford and Jalen Wright.
Yep. Hit that like and subscribe button. We want you to be a part of our coverage for football season. So excited to announce our lineup. We'll have regular guests, former Vols, and analysts each and every day. So we got a lot going on this week. And final stages of the Celebrate 98 book. Boy, that's been a bear. It's like having a child that you want out of your house immediately. That is coming out, and we'll have editions of that to give away. So we've got a lot going on in the fall. So hit the subscribe and also hit the like button. And if you haven't turned your notifications on, do that, because we'll have post-game, we'll have reacts from all kinds of recruiting as that'll die down a little bit, but a lot going on in recruiting currently as kids are in preseason camp. So they're going to shut that down quite a bit. Travis said, here's a good name. Travis said, I really liked Eric Gray. I did too. Why did I think Eric Gray was going to be such a good player? And what's he doing now?
Oh, I think he was a good player. He just he ended up going to Oklahoma, and Brent Venables went there, and Brent Venables.
What did he do? I know he played significantly, but what did he do last year for Venables?
I'm looking up the stats now, and he's with the Giants, by the way. He's teammates with Jalen Hyatt, funny enough. So to pull up Eric Gray last year with Oklahoma, he did have 1,366 yards last year, had 6.5 yards per carry, 1,595 total yards, 11 touchdowns. So he did have a nice senior year. He went in the 5th round of the draft, 172nd pick.
Would he have been a better back last year than Jalen Wright or Jabari Small?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Tennessee fans don't want to admit that, but yes. But that's not a knock on Jabari Small or Jalen Wright at all.
And it's not night and day.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was a step better. He was a little bit more elusive, where those guys are more straight ahead runners.
And the problem with
Jalen has some wiggle, though. I don't want to short sell Jalen's wiggle.
That's the issue with the running back market in the NFL right now. There is no night and day between running backs anymore. I mean, yes, some are better than others, but there's not a night and day difference at all.
Does that filter down to college?
Yeah, I think it does. I just think I talked about this last week. I think the problem with running backs is there are too many good ones now. They're just it's not like quarterbacks.
Can I try to catch you off guard real quick?
Sure.
Who's the best running back in college football now?
Best running back in right now. Right now.
This second.
Difficult. Wouldn't it be Blake Corum, the Heisman candidate from Michigan?
Yeah. take Blake Corum, if you will. Who's second? I mean,
I have
there's
nothing.
not a major difference with the way offenses are run. So you're seeing that in the NFL. I think you're going to see that in college football. Would I rather have the group that Tennessee has as opposed to a air quote special back? Probably. Because you're risking injury if you rely all on one guy. I mean, what Tennessee has now in Selden, Small, and Wright is kind of a poor man's Garner, Hayden. Who am I putting together? There's two different.
James Stewart, Charlotte Garner, Aaron Hayden, Mose Phillips. Yeah.
You include Mose Phillips in that. He played fullback. But anyway.
Because he had the greatest run I've ever seen.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And then they kind of have a mini version of that going on. SC Scout guy said Bryce Thompson was on SC radio this morning. He said he always wanted to go to SC, but they just wouldn't let him in with his grades. He said Coach Pruitt said that wouldn't be a problem at UT. I don't at all doubt that he said that. I don't doubt that. I don't think though. I don't want to play the academics game because other than Vanderbilt, isn't every school going to pretty much let you in? Especially schools that are rebuilding. They're going to find a way to get you in.
All I know is we knew Bryce Thompson wasn't the smartest with the he was suspended the first 3 games of 2019. It sounds like he had a major fight with his girlfriend and lashed out at her like across the dorm room for everybody to hear. And this was all about he was allegedly cheating because she found fake eyelashes in his nightstand that were not hers. But the rumors were that Bryce Thompson himself likes to wear the fake eyelashes. Which, no judgment, but if he was cheating and he left the fake eyelashes in his nightstand, you ain't very smart. How do you let yourself get caught like that?
No, they're just rip-off things. It's not like you got a tattoo, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
When we were at SEC Media Days and Caleb was, bringing it down after a big coverage, he would just pull his right off. He would just pull his fake eyelashes right off.
Oh my gosh, Dave.
And I was like, I thought they would stick more. And he goes, nope. You just pull them right off. I was like, okay, well, they look fantastic. They looked really good.